All right, everyone. Welcome once again to the Manufacturing Ecommerce Success Series. I'm one of your co-hosts, Damon Pistolka, and I want to just say welcome to 2022. So I'm going to turn this over right now to the co-host, Curt Anderson, to introduce our special guest of the day. Curt, take it over, man.
Damon, Happy New Year, my friend. What an absolute honor. This is like 10 years in the making right now. I'm not going to even pretend that I'm not excited, starstruck. As a matter of fact, I think my year might end as soon as this interview is over. So, guys, I want to introduce our dear friend, Carey Smith, the founder of Big Ass Fans. Carey, welcome to the program. Happy New Year, my friend.
Thanks, Guy. Appreciate it. Glad to be here.
This is absolutely what an honor. I've been following your story for many years. And so our shtick here is our everybody drop a note and say hello. Tell us where you're from. We're doing things a little bit differently today. We're on LinkedIn Live. So let us know where you're coming from today. But, anybody in manufacturing is extremely familiar with your story. 11-time Inc. 5000 winner. Of course, any entrepreneur would love to win once. You won 11 straight years, 30% year-over-year growth, just monster success in the manufacturing world. So I'm going to kick things off with a couple questions. What's your secret, man? How'd you do it?
I have no freaking idea. I mean,
still trying to figure it out.
Something like that. You need to ask somebody that knows something, not me.
So the key is just act like you know what you're doing. But Carey, appreciate your humility. But let's go back in time. So long-time entrepreneur. In 1999, you had a vision for a company. Can you share a little bit? We talked the other day, and you gave a great kind of a segue on that transition, and you had a vision for these monster fans. Can you just share, like, how did that happen? How did these come on your radar, and how did you make that plunge into the fans?
Well, in reality, you make it sound much better than it actually was. Maybe I'll just leave it.
I've been practicing for 10 years.
Yeah, there you go. No, actually, where it started and where it came from was the fact that I had a business at the time that was basically failing. And I spent a considerable amount of time looking for other products and other businesses. And I'd been working for, I don't know, about 10 years in the more of the industrial facility market. And I was very familiar with that. And I knew a lot of people in that industry. And what we had done prior, or that business, involved cooling of these buildings in the summertime, because in the States, a lot of industrial plants, manufacturing plants, as well as distribution centers, were not air conditioned, very uncomfortable, especially in the South.
Yeah.
And I came across somebody making fans, a small machine shop making fans for dairy farms. And because a cool cow, a comfortable cow makes a lot more milk. And in the summertime, it's incumbent upon the dairyman to keep the cows cool. And this is what this particular individual at California Davis had come up with. And I thought, oh my God, the answer to my prayer, because immediately, to me, I thought, one, it was huge. They just had a little ad, and it had a picture of a fan next to an individual, and it was like, oh my God, this is cool. And so, I called the guys up and I said, hey, it's your lucky day. I'm on the phone with you. So it did take a little. I guess I should have mentioned that in the beginning. So we made a deal. Because they were having a very difficult time. They were a small machine shop, and they were having a difficult time selling. They don't really know anything about business, and very talented, but limited in terms of business experience. And we made a deal, and I was allowed to sell and market the fans globally. And part of the deal was that when we got to a certain point, when I'd sold a certain number of them, and it wasn't very many. It was like 1,500 or 2,000 of them.
Right.
That I had the right to buy the IP,
Okay.
and I did. And so it took me a couple of years to get there. It's always a little slower than you imagine, even with we've been a great product. And so about 2003, we started actually manufacturing ourselves, and as I said before, we went from there over 15 years basically to 265 million. We were selling in, I don't know, 130 countries around the world. It worked quite well. It was very interesting, very exciting. I worked with a lot of really cool people, nice people, smart people.
Yeah.
And that's basically it. And then I got to the other end there, and in an offhand comment, this sounds so silly, but in an offhand comment after a really nasty, not a nasty meeting, one of those bad meetings, where you're like, this is tiresome. I said offhandedly to my operating guy, I said, God damn it, if somebody would give me for $400 million, I'd walk away from this. And he said, really, you would do that? And I said, yeah. But then I came back 10 minutes later and I said, 400 doesn't sound right. Make that 500. I'd walk away for 500 million. And that honest to God, that meant nothing to me at the time. It was interesting. It meant something to him. So anyway, so basically less than a year later, somebody offered me, well, less time than that, but offered 500 million. And well, that's cool. I can do something else.
Right.
I don't do these fans anymore.
Yeah.
Everybody has a price. So a little bit of a Ray Kroc story here, kind of like Ray Kroc finding the milkshake machines, so like you stumble on a machine shop making these giant fans. And, you showed me the other day, you're like, man, it was just a crystal clear vision. You had that aha moment of like, this, like, were there angels, trumpets playing? Like, how did that even happen?
Yeah. I'm curious to hear that.
Interesting. And you mentioned that movie, and I can tell you that was like they were right there with me. That was terrible. It was like totally amazing because it was so similar. I mean, obviously, Kroc much took it a lot further than I did, but
you didn't do too bad. Yeah,
it was crazy. But no, you're right. I felt just right from the very beginning that it was an interesting product, and based on what I knew and what I had done, I knew how to do it, and I knew where it went, and I knew how to sell it and how to market it, and so it was. But again, that just came from keeping my eyes open, and but I sure as hell knew what was going on. As I think I've told people, I was going to the airport to go out and see the guys about the fan the first time. I knew it. I knew that this was it, which is crazy. And I think I mentioned to you the other day that when I met my wife, I thought, I'm going to marry this woman. I have no idea why I would ever think that. It was crazy, but it felt the same way. It was like, oh, I see this. Like, I get the whole thing. So, and I think it's important when you do that. You really should listen to that. You really should have to pay attention.
That is sage advice right there, because I think a lot of times we hear those things in our mind, our inner self is telling us that, and we don't do anything. Right. And I think that's incredible what you just
well,
said.
I'd done it once before and I ignored it. And I was in graduate school, and there was a job opportunity, and I thought, I mean, it was great, but I couldn't. I'm in school. I mean, I can't do that. I've got to finish this, and I always thought that was a mistake, and I swore I would never do that again.
Right. No. Sure enough, you did. So I love this. So again, for any manufacturers out there, listen to this story. Custom job shop, kind of struggling. They create or discover a proprietary product, finished good, and the visionary comes in, sees the light, and 1999, and we just talked about this before you jumped on, those were challenging times, economically. Internet bubble was around the corner, our tragedy with 9/11, Enron, WorldCom, there was a lot of things going on in 99. So you launched the company, at that time, Carey. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I believe the company name was HVLS. Do I have that correctly? Are those letters?
So you got it right the first time.
How could you please share with our audience what is HVLS and how on earth did big ass fans come into the picture?
Well, when we started, the guys called it HVLS, the machine shop guys.
Yeah.
And it, from an engineering perspective, it's sort of descriptive because it's a high volume. There's a lot of air coming off of one of these machines.
Right.
And the main reason is because the wingspan was 24 feet.
Right.
And the prime mover, the driver, the motor is only like a horse and a half. So very little power input, huge output. And so it kind of, from an engineering perspective, made sense because it was very high volume and moving at a very low speed. I mean, sort of if you imagine a glider, and that was basically the concept. And so when we started, of course, that's what we called it. And we would get calls, and there was only a couple of us, and we'd answer the phone and say, HVLS Fan Company, can I help you? And inevitably, there'd be a pause. They go, are you those guys that make those big ass fans? I'm just like,
oh god,
yeah, I guess. But it was obvious so quickly that that's a much better name than HVLS. And so it was a cool thing because it was the potential customers that were telling us, and this is like marketing research gold. I mean,
yeah, it is
telling you what to do. And in reality, honestly, I think that's an important thing about manufacturing and business in general, is the closer you stay to your customers, the better shape you're going to be in long term, because they'll tell you what they want. If your customers aren't telling you what they want, or if you think that you know something that they don't, it's probably not the case. We listen to the customer, not just then, but throughout the history of the company, and I think it definitely bore fruit. But what was funny about it, obviously, with the name like Big Ass Fans, we got a lot of pushback, which was hilarious because we didn't care, and it made it even better. But our customers, again, this is another point. We knew our customers, so our customers typically were maintenance directors, maintenance supervisors, and those guys, they run a manufacturing plant. I mean, they really do. I mean,
they do.
President of the company, he doesn't know. I can tell you for a fact.
Right.
He doesn't know what's going on.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is. I mean, you have to do a lot of different things, but the maintenance guy, they know how the whole thing works. If something breaks, they know how to fix it. They know what to do to keep everything running. And so we knew that, but we also knew that sense of humor, and that sense of humor is kind of my sense of humor too. Right. And so it matched that I would think it was a great name. They thought it was a great name. Right. And then I think the other thing we did was we made sure that when we were running the company, just in general, that we were very open with not only our customers, but our people that worked with us and our suppliers. And we had a lot of fun. I mean, we used to, we had an open bar. We did all sorts of silly things. And I think a lot of those guys, they're smart guys. The maintenance guys, really smart guys, but they oftentimes aren't in the working situation that they would probably deserve. And they got a kick out of the way we did business. And so there was sort of this, we like you, we like the name. And of course, you have to live up to that. I mean, you have to make a product that is like, you really have to work on it. And we did. I mean, it gave us that opportunity. but it all came together. It all worked because we were firing on all 8 cylinders.
Yeah, and when you think about it, I can just imagine maintenance guys across the country being in and running plants and building them and everything. You can just imagine a maintenance guy looking at, hey, that's a big ass fan.
Oh, they did it all the time.
And I did it. The first time I saw him, I was like, that's a big ass fan. And then we proceeded to put them in every manufacturing plant I was involved with after that, I think, because they really do a good job. And like you said, that catches the attention. But then behind it, you just said, we got to make a good product. And it is a good product. It'll sit there and run and run and run and run and run because it's simplicity.
I think we warranted them for 10 years, but I mean, we've got them here where I am now in Austin. There's the original fans. I mean, they're 20 something years old.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's very long lived, but that's what we wanted. I mean, we were selling something and we told them, this is the last fan you're ever going to buy for real. I mean, it doesn't have any consumables. I mean, we weren't trying to, make a business out of that. We were just trying to do it better than anybody else could do it. And we did.
So Carey, awesome. So again, put yourself back in your shoes, 1999. So any manufacturers that are out there today, maybe, COVID has hit them hard or they're struggling or, they're a custom job shop and have, and again, you're incredibly humble, but you really are a monster storybook success. There's a big reshoring initiative trying to bring back Made in USA. And again, you are a great story and an inspiration for many entrepreneurs and manufacturers out there. What piece of advice would you give a young manufacturer who's kind of either starting out or maybe, had some real severe challenges during COVID? What are some pieces of advice that you would give that manufacturer?
I think that outside of and they know their business much better than I would ever know it. But if it's something where you're thinking, we're for example, a machine shop guys that run machine shops. I mean, crazy smart guys.
Yeah.
Right.
And very creative. They have to be because that's their business.
Yep.
And the problem, again, from an entrepreneurial perspective is I think that they can certainly come up with solutions. They can certainly come up with products. And I think ultimately the answer to reshoring a lot of manufacturing is probably resides in people like that. Yeah. The thing that I think it's important to realize what you don't know, and that is business. And business, we deal with a lot of doctors, for example, and a lot of academics, and it always fascinates me that these are smart people.
Yeah.
Probably not quite as smart as they think they are, but they're smart people. But I tell them, I say, I'm not a doctor. I'm not an academician. I can't do your job, but you just don't even know anything about my job. And if we're going to work together, you're going to have to realize that I know something that you don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's not a bad thing. That's a good thing because here we are talking to one another. And I think a lot of people that run small manufacturing, small machine shops, they have the wherewithal, they have the talent to innovate, but they have to recognize and they have to, they have to find somebody and look for somebody that knows the other half. I mean, it's silly to imagine that if you're engineering a product on the one hand, that you're a natural for writing these long articles that I did, are finding, all of these really arcane, maybe not so interesting things. But it's building a business. I think at the end of the day is a skill, and it's a skill that is not necessarily thick that you find all over the place. It's just not a natural thing because it takes a lot of experience. And as we discussed the other day, I had a lot of experience. It wasn't successful. I failed like crazy. I don't even like to talking about it. I said I wouldn't talk about it. But it's a totally different thing.
Yeah.
And I think you have to take advantage of that. I would never try to engineer a product or run a CNC machine, but it's foolish if you imagine that just because you can do that, that you can run a business or start a business. Because
Yeah. Exactly.
And I appreciate, so again, you had a previous business prior to launching HVLS, and then, evolved into Big Ass Fans. You shared, you did a lot of know your customer. You were intimate with that customer, listening to the customer. You talked a lot
Yeah.
about I felt you're a pioneer from a marketing standpoint. You said you're very aggressive with articles way before digital was even a thing. Share a little bit, like, so these job shops where, custom manufacturers, man, they are widget experts, like you said, very creative. But man, when it comes to like putting out, what we'll call content article, they're like, man, I would have gone to journalism school if I wanted to do that. What advice do you have for folks? Like, how do they get that story out there to collaborate, connect with ideal customers, that type of thing? Like, what were some successes that you had early on pre-digital from that content standpoint?
Well, honestly, I did. I spent a lot of time writing, and I'm a slow writer, and I'm a slow editor as well, and it took a lot of time. But the fact of the matter is, I understood the product better than anybody else did.
Yeah.
And I understood the problem that the product solved better than anybody else. And so it was incumbent upon me. I couldn't ask somebody else to do it, and who would want to do it? And I wasn't going to pay them because I couldn't afford it.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those things you have to set down and you have to do, and it's a pain. It's a total pain.
Yeah.
But the thing about it is, what's good about it today, I think, is there's more venues, there's more opportunities to offer this type of work, because it is work. And what I've always found in the media is no different from anything else, is that they really appreciate it when you do their job for them.
Yeah.
And again, you have to talk to them and be with them just like your customers, because they basically are one of your customers.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to know what they are looking for, what would help them in their day-to-day, because a lot of people that do that sort of work, they're really not very well compensated, and they really are overworked.
Yeah.
And when we were dealing with the print media, we actually did it to the extent that they would call us and they would say, "Hey, Carrie, I had somebody fall out. Do you mind, can you fill something in here? Can you write an article? And this is what we'd like to, this is," and it was always about the product, our product, but whatever the angle was. And you have to be willing to do that. And if you do, it pays off. But again, it's paying attention to who your customer is. And in that situation, that's who your customer is. The media is super important. I mean, you have to, they are your channel in doing this sort of thing.
Right.
They are channel to the customer.
Yeah. One of the things you mentioned when we were talking earlier is, we got a lot of manufacturing people that listen and are on here, and you can see the comments rolling from them. But you said that you manufactured most of your stuff within 3 days prior to sale. That's pretty amazing in what you're trying to do there.
Well, we did. I say that's maybe not exactly right. I mean, what we used to tell people was that if you ordered a fan before noon, we would be on the road after lunch. And so it was very fast. Now we had inventory, but we were in a situation where it was always a seasonal product, more seasonal than we would have liked.
Yeah.
Sure.
And so we were able to build in the winter. But but a lot of it was, and especially when you get into the commercial fans is something different, because now you're having different paint jobs, different finishes. It's a little bit of a different business.
Mhm.
And you had to be able to turn that around. That's very hard to do
Yeah.
that sort of thing. So,
Yeah.
uh,
Well, that's something
yeah,
though, because that's quite an advantage. It's quite
it
an
is.
advantage.
Well,
Speed.
now it's very important. I always thought it was very important, and it's hard. It's hard. We tried. We actually did try to do pull a. We had a lot of people around Lexington that were engineers that were involved with the automotive industry because of Toyota and of course all of the auxiliary
Yeah.
plants and so forth
Right.
associated with that. So just in time, I mean, that's the thing. And we tried and tried and tried. That's that's hard.
Yeah.
With what we're doing, it was hard.
Yeah. Because you were selling a custom product basically, but it's probably made up with standard kind of
Yeah,
pieces and stuff like that.
right.
But
Yeah.
it is. But I mean, just to be able to say that most of your stuff, that what you said now is even more impactful to me than it was earlier manufacturing 2 days. Because if you ordered before noon and your fan went out that afternoon, that kind of speed gets you market share like crazy.
Right.
Oh, you're right. In the beginning, we didn't have any competition at all.
Yeah.
But as time progressed, it was funny how the people that came into the market, because I don't know, they just didn't pay attention, I think.
Right.
And so one of the big deals was, I mean, they'd say, "Oh yeah, well we can get you a fan in 2 weeks," and here's the leader industry saying, "No, it's not this afternoon. What the hell is that about?"
Yeah.
And I think that was a big feature, I think, especially in the summertime. They would do this in the summer, if you can imagine that you order a fan, you call May the 1st, and they say, "Oh yeah, it'll be sometime in June."
Yeah.
And so we were able to make a big deal out of that. But
Yeah.
that's just investment, and that's just understanding your customer, and and I think again, we sold everything directly to these. I mean, if you, I don't know how you ordered your fans or how you bought them, but typically if you called about a fan, if you emailed to the factory.
Yeah.
If you called and you spoke to somebody at the factory. So it was very, very, very direct.
Yep. That's how it was done. And it's funny you talked about this speed though, because last night I interviewed Brian Bendig from Cavalier Tool up in Windsor, Canada. And he said they're the 26th largest injection mold builder in the world.
Wow.
So cool company, but he was talking about speed to market. And he said how much it's helped him, because when you look at their equipment and what they do, he said that, and they build big molds. I mean, like when you think the inside of a dishwasher in one shot kind of thing. And he was talking about building those molds in 12 weeks. And I used to be in molding, and that's where I got exposed to your fans and those kind of things, because it's a hot environment. But that stuff usually takes 6 months, 8 months to get done. And they're getting it down in 3 months. And, but he was talking about the same thing. Speed is valuable. And I think that,
because you're, again, and I think the customer appreciates that. I mean, when you put yourself into the customer's shoes, you go, well, you want it in 6 months or he wants it in 12 weeks? I mean,
yeah.
I mean, and if it's not important, he'll tell you or she'll tell you. But when it's important, I mean, we order tooling and things all the time, and when you need it, well, you need it. I mean,
yeah,
right.
That's just the way it works.
Yeah.
So Carey, so kick things off in 1999. Could you share, like, were there any milestones? Were there any points where you're like, I think I'm onto something? Like, so there's plenty of entrepreneurs out there, maybe built a 6-7 figure business, maybe like those that even make it to like 8 is a monster milestone to break that $10 million threshold. Was there certain points or milestones that you discovered in the 2000s where you're like, I'm really onto something here? Like, and again, you expressed your previous career where, there were some struggles, challenges, so on and so forth. Describe what that looked like in the 2000s as you were starting to hit these milestones.
Well, I don't recall that there was a specific milestone. I think other than just sort of oddball things, like the first time we sold a number of fans to the Philippines, to a Dole pineapple
Mhm.
plant in the Philippines, and I think it was 12 or 13 of them, which was big deal to us.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And to imagine, and that is halfway around the world, and
Yes.
to imagine that what we're doing, that it penetrated after a relatively short period of time, several years, so that a plant manager, plant director in Mindanao, the Philippines, would know who we were and know what they wanted.
Right.
And I think that was a big deal.
Right.
And then
I'm sorry. Do you know how do you translate big ass fans into Philippines? Do you know like how that translation work to other countries?
Big ass fans.
There you go.
I mean, we sold these every place,
Right.
and people would ask, "Well, what about this? What about that?" And it's like, God damn it, most people understand this. I mean, it's a big ass. But I will say that our best market outside of the States, and actually per capita was the best market, was Australia.
Nice.
And the Aussies, we were in line with the Aussies.
Right.
They
Oh,
got
awesome.
it. They got it totally.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that never gave us a problem. And if it did, it was a good thing because we liked that.
Right. So then I think if I interrupted on any milestones, but were there any other turning points that, like, the recession hit 2008? Were there other points where you're like, man, like this is really turning into something? Did you ever dream that you were going to build this size of a company?
I think that the one milestone did occur after it was 2010 because we hit 50 million. And I thought, for whatever reason, I thought that was a big deal.
Yeah.
And we were able to do that. And then we, in terms of others, just interesting things. Nothing really. This is, there was. We worked. I mean, this, as I think I mentioned to you the other day, people come to me and say, oh, I've got a business. Oh, it's so much fun. And you're going, oh, you don't. You're having fun. You're not doing something right. Not doing it the way it should be done. It ain't fun.
Right.
No, it's work.
Yeah. I think that there's a feeling of accomplishment, and I think that's good.
Yes.
But and we always tried to have fun, and I think that we did. I mean, we took it seriously, but I don't know. Having fun. I mean, that wasn't really part of it. But and we plowed. And again, one of the things. I mean, we bootstrapped it.
Yep.
Which is one way. I tell you, it's a different. It's a way of doing it. It doesn't mean it's the way to do it, because it took whatever that is, 19 years or 18 years. And I think that if I had been more savvy financially, then we could have done it faster and maybe much better. And so there was, you learn a lot when you're doing it everything yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
But you pay a price. Of course, at the end of the day, I mean, and this is what I try to impress on people that, young entrepreneurs, is that when we got the check, when we sold it, it was my check. I mean, it was made out to me personally, and that was it. How I gave 50 million of it away to people that worked with me, because that we had a program, and we did that. We made a lot of millionaires, and people that actually used that money that they made, and some of them, it was, I don't know how many were multimillionaires, but it was,
life changing.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, and they actually started their own businesses, which was cool. I mean, that's very
no doubt.
So what I'd love to transition into, Carey. So again, anybody that's just joined us, Carey Smith, founder of Big Ass Fans. You are now currently the founding contrarian of Unorthodox Ventures. I'd like to touch on that for in 1 second before we get there. So again, Carey Smith bootstrapped a company, founded a fan manufacturing 1999 at zero, built it in a $300 million company, blessed fortunate, sold it for $500 million. Carey, I know you take you mentioned about writing, and guys, if I'm an Inc. magazine junkie, and man, I was thrilled when you started writing your monthly article. So Carey writes a monthly article that is absolutely fantastic. Look forward to reading it every month. As a matter of fact, we have Scott, the editor, Scott O, the editor-in-chief of Inc. magazine, is our guest a week from today. Just talked with Scott the other day, so he was thrilled that you're on the program today. But Carey, again, so for those manufacturers out there, you know, the stories, you had the foresight, you had a vision, know your customer, you spoke their language. I mean, you've covered, you know, high engineering, you've covered a lot of great topics here. Share a little bit on your leadership skills. Again, I know you're very modest, but there's wonderful articles on how, you know, you were adamant, you paid your folks 30% over federal rates, so on and so forth. You made multiple millionaires when you sold the company. What, again, from your previous life, whether, you know, what helped you with your leadership skills? It took a great team to build this monster company. How do you, and I know you're modest, but please share with us, what were your leadership traits and skills that helped you build this company?
I think the most important thing always, and I don't know precise, I mean, it might have come from kindergarten, I have no idea, but is that you have to empathize, and you have to realize that if you can induce people to work with you and not for you, I mean, you can always make people work for you, right? But induce them to you know, to join this journey and to be a part of it. You have to treat them. You have to treat them with respect. You have to treat them with the respect they deserve. And there's no way, and one of the good reasons that you should do that is there's no way that you can say that your customer is number one if you're not treating your employees the same way. I mean, you have to, because they're actually on the line, and they know what they know it. They are that's where it all comes together. And they have to know that they're special, and they also have to know how you expect the customer to be treated. And we were focused. I always told everybody that we had to make money to stay in business, but we weren't really in business to make money. And which is, you know,
that's nice.
True, but when it comes down to a specific customer and let's say a problem, you have to solve that problem. You can't. I mean, you could have sold a fan that cost $10,000, and it cost you $20,000 to fix it because you screwed something up or something's gone wrong. Well, that's just the way it is, and I made sure that the people that worked with me that were interacting with these customers knew that. I mean, it didn't bother me. You couldn't. It wasn't like, oh my God, you're going to get fired because you lost money on that deal. I don't care about the deal. I mean, what I care about and what I cared about, and consequently what they cared about, was that customer and that customer relation, even if that was the only fan we'd ever sell those people. Right. And I think that sort of thing starts and you have to if that's the way you're going to approach business, you have to live that, and you have to live it all the way down. And everybody in the company needs to know that. And so you look at some place like Boeing, and you think that's not the way Boeing runs. And I realize it's got a lot of financial guys who don't know jack about running a business. But I mean, at the end of the day, everything starts at the top. Everything, and so the culture. If you're you can't have a company that has a positive culture if you're not a positive influence and you don't treat everybody in a positive manner. And so you're right. We did. I know the PE company that bought the fan company. They thought we were crazy, I'm sure, but we did pay 30% on average, 30% more than was on average over the U.S. for what we're doing, and 40% over Kentucky. So we always paid more. We always had bonuses. The only year we didn't have a really decent bonus, and a decent bonus to me is a month's plus salary. is in that 2008, 2008, 2009.
Yeah.
And we were only we made $1 million. That's all we did, and we had bonuses, but could only pay like between $500 and $1,000 to everybody. But what was interesting about it is with that was that I apologized because I mean I know all these people and they've worked for me for a while and they know what the bonus is because it's a big deal.
Yeah.
And I felt like, geez, this is terrible, but that's all we got. And to a person, they said, "No, don't worry about that, Carey. I mean, we've got jobs. I mean, that's the important thing because so many people have been laid off." And I don't know. It to me, it's running a company is tedious in some respects. In other respects, it's a real intellectual challenge. But I think that it's impossible for one person or a couple of people to do. You've got to engage everybody, and I mean everybody. The guys driving the forklifts, the guys cutting the foils. I mean, packing the boxes. That's what you do.
Yeah, everything.
So,
awesome.
Carey, I want to transition into so when you sold the company, there was a phenomenal article, and I think the title was something along the lines that why I sold the company to the most boring people on the planet. Do you remember that article? So I have that title.
Your parents. You can't pick the people that buy the company, so they were fine people.
So I think if I'm close, I have it. But what I absolutely love, and I quote you all the time on this, Damon. You've heard me use this quote. So so many people, you put your blood and heart, sweat, blood and tears into your business. It's your baby. You're so emotional. And Damon's an exit strategy specialist. And Damon, you know how emotional people get when they sell their business, right? And Carey, you have this awesome, amazing quote. And you said, hey, taking care of my people was number one. And you did that. You walked the walk, talk the talk, walk the walk there, took care of all your folks. But you said, you know what? It's my pack of gum until you pay me. Then it's your pack of gum. Share a little, what was the psychology of you just didn't care. I know you cared, but you removed the emotion. Can you just, so for folks out there that are thinking about selling their business, can you just share how you took that approach?
Well, I don't think it's that hard. I think that you have to decide. And again, as I counted, the number that I picked was it was really silly. And when I think about it today, I think, well, maybe you should have put more thought into that. But it was the number that I really, at that point, I didn't care. And and there was some dickering about it, and then there was some phone slamming and some desk pounding.
Yeah.
But to even come off a little bit, I said, well, you go do something else. I don't give a damn what you do, but you're not a company, and that's it, and that's fine with me. I don't care. Right. And I think that a lot of people get emotionally attached, maybe not to the company, but emotionally they get attached to whatever that number is. And you have to keep in mind that when people are doing this on the other side of the table, they know this stuff. Right. They know what you're thinking, and they want you to think about it. They want you to imagine something away from the company. Right. But I never did that, and I was very lucky. And maybe this is the part of the answer is I had a guy, my COO, and I said, look, you do this stuff and he was a financial guy anyway, the background. And I said, you do this stuff. I don't want to have anything to do with it. And somebody's got to run the company. I'll run the company. You run this. And if it works, that's great. And if it doesn't, I don't care. And then I'm running the company. We didn't miss a beat. Right. I don't know, that seemed to work. And then the other side of it, which put into that, was when I went home to my wife and said, oh, Nancy, we've got people that are interested in paying $500 million for the company. She's like, yeah. hey, look, I got to go out. I got to get some bread.
Yeah, exactly.
Milk. And it's like, oh, okay. So and she didn't buy into it, honest to God,
Until the wire hit the account,
check it,
probably.
yeah.
And I'm not kidding. That's the way it
Yeah.
was.
Right. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
That's so incredible.
So I want to be mindful of your time,
Yeah,
Carey.
yeah,
You've been
we're
so
getting
generous
close.
with your time. My last question that I want to share. So you, man, God bless you. Thank you for sharing this incredible, wild, massive success story. And again, I know you're super humble and modest about this, but you are truly an incredible inspiration to probably literally millions of entrepreneurs, let alone manufacturers. Great, wonderful success story. Leadership, took care of your employees, built a product from scratch. We've made our little Ray Kroc analogy. Share a little bit about, so now you've made this transition, you sold your pack of gum, and now talk about, let's hear about Unorthodox Ventures. What's going on there, types of businesses that you're looking for, anything that you want to share on what's going on in your world right now. I know you've built an amazing team. It looks like some of your alumni from Big Ass Fans are actually with you at Unorthodox Ventures.
No. We've got a very strong team just because they were the best and the brightest, or some of the best and the brightest at the fan company. And well, what we started out doing is we thought we were going to be investing in companies via venture capital company, which I knew nothing about, absolutely nothing. Then when I found out that's not what you want to do, we discovered that most of the people, or a lot of people in the venture capital business, don't know anything about business, and they have access to an incredible amount of money, and they're typically bankers, and it's crazy. I mean, it's totally crazy because you've got people asking for money. They don't even know what they're going to do with. They have no idea what to do, and they're given money by people that are the most clueless boneheads, but those people, the VCs, are beholden. I mean, they have a fiduciary responsibility to the investors to dispense with this money. And I guess I kind of feel sorry for the investors, but again, as I said before, it's this massive redistribution of wealth. So it's like, yeah, okay, so fine. I mean, it's better than a revolution. I mean, these guys, I mean, this is like sort of, I mean, you're gonna buy the rope that's gonna hang you from the people that are gonna hang you. I mean, it's crazy, but it turned out that it took us a little bit of time to figure out exactly what we wanted to do and how we wanted to do it. And but what we're engaged with now are basically manufacturing, because at the end of the day, when we started, I said, well, that's all we want to do. I mean, we want to find manufacturing firms that, of various sizes that we can invest in, that we can help on the marketing side, help on the production side, because we have engineers, production guys,
experts,
sales expert, all the supply chain, all of this stuff, we can help them. But they're really, honest to God, from a investment perspective, not a lot of manufacturing companies in the States. And so we got away from that a little bit, but then we've come back to it because it really is the most interesting, from our point of view, the most interesting part of the market. I mean, we invested in some CPG and some consumer products, which are just, I mean, that's a crapshoot. I mean, that's ridiculous stuff. I mean, and do you really, honestly, want to own 35% of a potato chip company? I mean, really? I mean, you're gonna tell your mom that's what you did? I mean, I'm not that interested in that. And so we've gotten back to more of manufacturing, and we're working with a company that makes a hand sanitization unit that is incredibly well designed and made in this country. That's the other thing that we're all over, because I don't want to do business with somebody that imagines that they can get it done in China. And I think that Chinese people are wonderful people, but the government is, I mean, you don't want to deal with them. Additionally, you're half a world away from your production, which means that your quality control is almost non-existent. You're weeks, months now on the water. I mean, it's a ridiculous situation.
Yeah.
And I think that based on what we did with the fans, and I think the same thing is true about the manufacturing that we're involved with here with the hand sanitizer, that is very high end, that is very, very durable metal, aluminum, cast aluminum product that people are willing to pay for quality if you give them the opportunity. I mean, and if you don't go to Amazon, which is my other thing, which I'm not a big fan of. I mean, we sold fans to Amazon, of course, but they really do take it out of a lot of small manufacturers. And if you don't believe it, well, try it. You'll see it's a mess. And if you have a really good product, then they'll knock it off for you because they know the Chinese better than you do. So we've been more involved in actual manufacturing and helping people manufacture hard goods.
Okay.
And so
That's cool.
it's kind of sort of, what we spend our time. And when I talk to people, it's a lot of it has to do with, even in med tech, even in things like that, talking to people that are more medically inclined or more, the doctors and so forth, about production and production lines and supply chain. Supply chain's big. Supply chain's crazy stuff.
Yeah, it is.
Very difficult right now. And you really do. We have one of our partners, and it just scares me to death that you have to pay so much attention to that, and you have to get so far ahead of it. I mean, you have to be 6 months, 9 months in front of yourself there. And that's not just, I'm not saying, oh, you're going to make it in China, because they're not making it in China, but it's just everything else. I mean, it's all sorts of things, even components that are made in this country.
Right.
So, it's hard. And I think that if you haven't done it, you don't even know. We're trying to help people that haven't done it or that have started doing it, and making maybe prototypes or making actually a product and selling it, but need to step up from that. And there's just a whole lot of things that go together.
Right, that's for sure.
Need to be taken care of.
A lot of moving parts. So, Carey, man, this has been phenomenal.
Yes.
I can't express what a gift this has been. Spending time with you. You're very generous with us today. I want to wrap up on this. So, combination things, guys. Connect with Carey on LinkedIn first and foremost. Number one. Number two, check out his website. Amazing team, like he said. He is doing some really cool work helping U.S. manufacturers move the needle. So, aspiring entrepreneurs, folks that need a mentor, folks that need some funding, you want to check out Unorthodox Ventures. And what a great mentor to have, somebody that's walked the walk, talked the talk, has built a $300 million company. So who gets a multiple, Damon, on a manufacturing business off of revenue, for goodness
sake? That's nice.
Right?
That's nice.
So, okay, and Carey, I want to close out on this. I'm an avid reader of your articles, been a big fan for many years. Failure isn't as bad as not learning from it. Failure is not as bad as not learning from it. That was a recent article of yours. Grow it like you mean it. So again, guys, if you want some great inspirational reads, go to Inc. Magazine, Google Carey, check out his articles, go to his website. Carey, any last parting thoughts that you want to share with everybody out there as we kick off 2022?
No, not really. I mean, I think I would look forward to this. I think that it's interesting. It's only going to get better.
Yeah.
And I think I was just thinking, what's the most important thing? The one thing that we tell people the two things. One is we say, raise your prices before you even start. Just raise the price. And then secondly is make a business plan, and don't make it from the top down, and
Right.
don't use percentages. I mean, actually think the whole thing through, walk it through week by week, so you can get a good feel of where you are and what you're doing, what you actually need to run your business.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Awesome advice.
This is awesome. And I love, and the last thing, you had an awesome article about the, I think you bought some gym equipment, and you just shared an incredible story on basically how not to treat the customer. And that was a brilliant article.
That was crazy. That took a year. It was, and it was still put together wrong. I mean, we're moving right now, and we have to take it apart, and maybe finally we'll get it put together right. It was crazy.
Oh my.
Well, guys, thank you, Carrie. Thank you. God bless you. Congratulations, you and your wife, Nancy, for all your monster success. Thank you for sharing your inspiration with us. Guys, again, follow Carrie at Inc. Magazine. Connect with Carrie on LinkedIn. So, guys, go out there. What a great way to kick off 2022. It is going to be a monster year. Congratulations, everybody out there. We made it through 2021. Let's go out there and keep crushing it. Carrie, hang on with us 1 second. And guys, we wish you an awesome weekend. God bless you. Thank you for joining us today.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Carrie. I'm just going to thank everybody out there that was on there. If we didn't see Carrie, the comments were going wild. They're going wild in this thing. I'm going to just say Dan, John, Gail, Ray, Matthew, Don, Margot, Christina, Chris, John, and I know I missed another Ray. I missed so many people, but thanks so much for stopping by. And Carrie, thanks so much for being here. We'll be back again next week. We'll talk to you soon.